guys, what's up? It's Danielle. So for today's video, I'm going to share with you my new inserts. Now, I'm going to start by actually taking you through the old ones that I've been using. So you're going to kind of see the evolution, and I've been using the inserts that I have right now for I think almost 6 weeks now, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a little bit longer. But for right now, I'm just gonna kind of show you guys like the evolution, and then I'm also going to show you some other ones that I made. So these are kind of happy planner slash Erin Condren inspired in a way. You guys know that I'm not entirely a fan of Erin Condren, and I actually did have a video on that like 2 years ago, and my thoughts on that haven't really changed. But I was in Staples and I noticed that for the ARC planner, the ones that you can buy that already have all the inserts in them, it does have this sort of a layout. And this is something that I had always wanted to try. So I figured that, I would make the inserts and see if I liked it. I did not end up liking it. You can probably tell that I started this on a Wednesday. That was actually the day that I made these. And I was not a fan, to say the least. I tried to make it work, but it's just not the way that my brain operates. So I split it up into 3 different sections. So the top one would be morning, this would be afternoon, and this would be evening. And this is when I really started to get into the whole zone cleaning thing. And I pretty much wanted to try this sort of insert to kind of help with that, but it didn't end up working out. So you're gonna see I did keep some of these elements and I incorporated them into my new inserts. So something that I want to mention is that, let me see if I can find the page, unless I took it out and I can't remember where it went because my desk is a complete and utter mess, just like my life. Yeah, I don't remember where the page went, but I have an entire page, here it is, with all of the categories that I use. So this was a 1-week thing, and I basically have vowed never again to deal with it. So I'm thankful that I can finally toss these because I showed this to you guys. So this is actually what I've been doing. And this is like a little key that I keep in my planner because it's just, not that I forget, but I like to reinforce it sometimes. So it sort of acts as a reminder. So if you guys have never used a planner pad, that's essentially what I'm going off of for my inserts. If you guys haven't been with me for that long, I used to have a planner pad back in 2015 when I was a junior in college, and honestly, I loved it. But at that point in time, I didn't really utilize it the way that I could have, mainly because my life wasn't that busy at that point, even with school. So it just didn't really work in my life at that point in time. Now, I absolutely love the planner pad. It's probably one of my favorite planners that I've ever used. However, I don't like the fact that, they're spiral bound. And they do make a loose leaf version, but if you guys know anything about me, I would rather make something myself than have to pay for it. And it's just how I am. I'm just a stubborn asshole. And, I like to see if I can try and do things my way rather than taking the easy way out. So that's essentially how I came to, this conclusion. So to kind of give you a brief overview on how the planner pad works, it works as a funnel. So at the very top, you have lists of your activities that are divided into categories. And I'm going to take you guys through my categories in a second. And then in the middle, you have your daily to-do list. And then at the very bottom, you have your appointments. So the idea behind this system is that you can always see what needs to get done, and basically it's kind of treating everything that you do during the week as like a floating to-do list. So you can kind of, pick and choose and like delegate when things are going to get done, and it gives you a different view. So these are the categories that I have. It's just kind of like a little bank that I have, and I do switch these up. Some of them do stay on my pages all the time. Some of them do not. So I have errands, work, and I wrote fuck work in parentheses, home, action, projects, miscellaneous, dinner, and personal. So errands are pretty obvious. I actually haven't been using that one as much because I haven't entirely felt the need to. And then work, I only use if there's a lot of things going on. Thankfully, I don't have to be in a ton of meetings. The meetings that I am in, require me to be there every day. So it's not really something that I have to think about. And then home for me is basically stuff like, doing the laundry and doing my meal planning, meal prep, things of that nature. Action is anything that needs to get done sooner rather than later. So it's things like picking up prescriptions or, calling the insurance company if something goes wrong with one of my medications. Things that, like I said, need to get done sooner rather than later. Projects, I think, are pretty self-explanatory. However, I like to limit my projects to things that I'm passionate about. So generally it tends to be crochet. However, it can also be, stuff for my planner or things around my apartment. Miscellaneous, I haven't really figured out what I want to use that for yet. So I'm still trying to figure it out. If you guys have any ideas, let me know. Also for action, I forgot to mention that I like to put bills that I need to pay under that category. So I do have some bills that are on auto pay and some that are not. So the ones that aren't on auto pay, I generally tend to put under action. So maybe for miscellaneous, I'll do like reminders or something. I'm not really sure. And then dinner, pretty self-explanatory. And then personal is just like personal things that I need to do. So for me, that's like doing my own pedicures, redoing my blonde streak in my hair, doing like a facial or exfoliating, shaving, whatever. And I'm actually going to put in parentheses for miscellaneous bill reminders so that I don't forget after this video, because I'm gonna try that out. So that's basically the system that I'm working with right now, and I'm going to show you guys some examples of my inserts. So this was the very first week that I tried it, and you know what, I'm actually going to take all these other inserts out so that you guys can see it a little bit better. I'm not going to be able to zoom in on everything at the same time, so I'm just going to have to show you guys snippets. So here's a general overview, and to get a little bit more of a sense of like where things are, right here in the upper left-hand corner, I have the date range. So this week in particular went from the 27th of May to the 2nd of June. I have notes over here, an entire column for notes, which I've been thinking that I need to kind of split this up because I've never filled it out past that point. So it's not entirely making good use of the space that I have. So I may be doing something else with that, at least further down the page. Up here, these are all of the categories. So anything that needs to get done is categorized, and these are the actual days of the week. So I personally like to have it so that every day of the week looks the same. It really bothers me when I look at a planner and, all of the days aren't exactly the same. And then you have at the very end, Saturday and Sunday in one box. To me, I hate that because, what if you have a lot of stuff to do on a Saturday and a Sunday? I don't know. I personally that's just how I am. I like things to look the way, that they should, like nice and uniform. And then at the very bottom, I have a little area for appointments, which doesn't really come up that often for me, but I wanted to make room for it just in case. So anyways, I'm going to actually show you guys bit by bit what these inserts look like. So for the notes section, it's really, things that I would probably forget. Generally, the things over here don't entirely belong in the categories. So that's why I like to have them over here. And then, if I decide that they do belong in the category, I will go and put them in there. So for this week in particular, I was on zone 1 for my zone cleaning. And then I made a note that I had Saturday off from work. This was the weekend that I went to my friend's wedding in Cleveland. And then I just made some little notes of things that I had to do in order to get ready to drive to Cleveland for her wedding. So for the categories, I had errands, home, action, and then on the other page, I had projects, work, miscellaneous, and dinner. So what I like to do is I basically take whatever needs to get done first, and I will put that on, a specific day. So for example, my internet bill was due on the 29th. So I put that down on the 27th so that, it would be due like 2 days before. So that it would be paid 2 days before it was due. From there, I tend to go towards what I do consistently. And pretty much the one thing that is consistent for me on a weekly basis is when I do my grocery shopping, and I always do that on a Monday. And long story short, the reason why is because I work every third Sunday, and I like to keep things as normal as possible for myself. But it's also because Mondays are generally one of the, least busy days of the week. Tuesdays are actually the most busy, so I try to avoid everything at all costs on Tuesdays. But Mondays, that's why I do my groceries on those days. So once an activity is down in the actual to-do section, once I accomplish something from here, I will actually go back up into the category, find it, and then I'll highlight it so that it doesn't matter whether I'm looking at the categories or the to-do list. I always know which, things need to be done still, if that makes any sense. So the other thing is that I work Thursday to Saturday. So what you're going to see a lot of the times with my inserts is that there's a lot on Sunday to Wednesday or Monday to Wednesday, but there's generally nothing, like very little to nothing for Thursday to Saturday. And that's because I work anywhere from 12 to 17 hour days. depending on what's happening. So I don't always have the time to come home and like do some cleaning or whatever. I basically come home, take a shower, eat dinner, and pass out. And it's not what I would prefer, but you know, it's paying the bills, I guess. So, but then you can see down here for these couple of days, I did have some meetings or some appointments that I went to, had some training, and one of them was mandatory. One of them was one that I set up on my own for work. And then the last one was for my friend's wedding. So that's just to kind of give you guys a rough overview. And this was the week that I came back. Like I came back on Sunday the 3rd from my friend's wedding, and I just was not ready to get back into the swing of things, so I didn't even fill out this week. So that's why it's blank. Now, between the week of, what was it? The week of June 3rd and the week of June 10th, I went to Staples, and I actually decided to use 28-pound paper instead of cardstock. So that's another kind of huge difference, at least for me, because you guys know that I basically have been using cardstock ever since, like, even before I got my follow facts. So when I really started to delve into the world of planning was when I really started to use cardstock. And you know, I never really used actual paper unless it was for something that I knew I was going to throw out pretty quickly. But the way I see it now is my inserts only last for a week, and there's no need for me to be using cardstock on them. I really do like the 28-pound paper, and I can see why everybody else does too, especially people in the planner community, because it's not as flimsy, and you know, it is a bit thicker, so my stuff won't bleed through. I mean, it kind of does, but the opacity is a lot better. And then you can see I'm kind of incorporating some stickers here and there. Not too much, because as you guys know, I'm more of a functional planner. So the difference between the week of June 10th and the week of June 17th is that I actually started to print my inserts the same way. So if you can see, they both have the same margins. So the reason why I did that was actually because I kept getting pissed off, because when I would go to print my inserts, to print, you know, Sunday to Tuesday, I would have to have the margins set on one, you know, I would basically have it so that over here it was like something crazy, like 0.04 or 0.2 or something like that. And then over here would be like 0.5 or something. Enough room for for me to punch the holes. And I really just kept getting fed up because I kept screwing it up when I would print. So I just decided to keep the margins on the same side. So the way that I like this to sit in my planner is I'll actually keep it a chunk at a time. So when I show you guys my, you know, planner update, you're gonna be able to see this. But for right now, I'm just gonna kind of tell you about it. So say it's Monday. So I would only be looking at this part of the week, and you know, for good reason. But what I do like is that I can still take out my other insert and I can still look at the entire week at a glance, but I don't have to deal with the margins anymore, and you know, I can kind of section it off if I want to. So pretty much I like to spread it out. So if it's the first 3 days of the week, I will only be looking at this page unless I have to look at the categories on the other page. And I have a bunch of stuff in between, you know, the two parts of the week. And then what I like to do is as soon as it hits Wednesday, I'll actually put this paper on top of the other one so that if I need to, I can always go back and reference the first part of the week. And I really just, you know, thought it was easier for me to do it this way. And again, using like little stickers here and there, and, you know, using page flags and whatnot. Basically, the only flair you're going to see on my pages is my zebra mild liners. So that's kind of the point that I'm at right now. And where did that one go? Apparently I lost one of my, or did I? I don't know. Nope, I didn't. It's just out of order. So this was for the week of June 24th, and you can see, you know, again, using some of the stickers and then using Post-its to kind of reinforce important things that I need to get done. And then this was actually last week, the week of July 1st to the 7th. So the only thing I don't like about my schedule is the fact that I don't have anything on this part of the week. So I literally have to go ham on the days that I do have off, and it kind of makes it so everything's out of whack. So I don't know, maybe someday in my life I can have a normal schedule like everybody else. But anyways, those are the weekly inserts that I'm currently working with, and I absolutely am in love with them. I think I might just use them forever, at least until I figure out something else that's going to work for me. But I can feel my creativity coming back little by little, so that's nice because I've been a little too stressed out. So some other inserts that I've created. This is going based off of what I already have. It's just handwritten, and I'm not going to share it with you guys because it has, you know, personal information on it. Unless you guys want to pay my bills, which is fine by me, but, you know, not entirely the best idea to give people your info. So I made a laminated, like kind of reference for usernames and passwords for paying bills. And this is going to make a lot more sense to you guys when you see my newest planner update. So I'll explain it then, but basically this is an insert that I like to use to, you know, pay my bills. It's a lot easier than me having to rifle through all of my different usernames and passwords, which I actually have in one of those index card holders, and they're in alphabetical order. So this just kind of makes it easier. And the way that I'm going to fill this out is actually by, you know, the day that they're due. So, you know, if something's due on the 1st of the month, it'll be the first one on here, etc., etc. So you have the type of bill, and then when it's due, and then whether or not it's on auto pay, and then the URL, because I do tend to forget sometimes, and then username, password, and then a PIN if it's applicable. So I really do like this. I think it's pretty handy to have. Obviously, it's not a good idea to have a, you know, page like this in your planner if you take it with you places, but if you keep it at home, I think it's okay. So there's that. Excuse me. This is another one that I made, and this is for current monthly expenses. So I've always really been into finance, and I actually majored in that in college, but it's a lot different when you're on your own and you're figuring out all your own shit. So the way that I wanted to do this kind of goes off of what I already had. So I would put the due date, and it kind of works the same way the insert I just showed you guys works. So I would have it going in order, and then, the type of expense, and then the amount. And then you have room for the total at the very bottom. And then I like to write down what my monthly income is. It doesn't change, thankfully. Doesn't fluctuate, but I like to write down my monthly income just so that I can be a little bit more cognizant of what I'm spending versus what I'm saving. And then I also like to do percentage of income that goes towards bills, because it kind of, keeps me in line with where I need to be. And it's always something that I'm working on. And then the amount that I should be putting into savings, or the amount that I am putting into savings. And then the amount that I would have left after all expenses and what I have going into savings. On the back of that, I just have my fiscal goals and guidelines. So this is the budget that I'm currently going off of. And, 70% is spending, 20% is devoted to savings, which includes 10% for an emergency fund, and then 10% for regular savings. And then the last 10% is for investments. And then I have my grocery budget section, which does tend to fluctuate a little bit depending on how I'm feeling about my finances at that point. And then any spending freezes that I want to do. So, I kind of just left these open because I figured I would want to make notes and whatnot. So just, something for me to kind of keep in mind. And then the last 4 inserts that I have to show you guys they're not all the same, but the premise is the same. So I, like a lot of people, have a very difficult time trying to keep up with all of my tasks that I need to do. And some of these are things that you will know. We are getting older, dear. The time